When I was really struggling with relationship OCD, it felt like there was a permanent third wheel of doubt between us, especially before I proposed to my soon-to-be wife. No matter what I did, the doubt was constant, consuming my thoughts. I felt like I had to solve a puzzle, but the more I analysed, the more I thought about it, the more confused and unsure I became. It was so overwhelming, and I felt an intense amount of guilt and shame about the whole thing. Today, I want to talk about breaking free from that third wheel of doubt and finding peace in your relationship despite relationship OCD being there in the background at times. If you're wrestling with endless questions, feelings of doubt, or the need for certainty in your relationship, then this episode is for you. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Susie Kassen. It's a powerful thought, right? When I read that quote, it actually reminded me of what I went through with relationship OCD, or ROCD, as it's often called. That lingering, gnawing doubt, the kind that feels like it's helping you figure things out, only to lead you down a winding path of worry, fear, and shame. And if you're struggling with ROCD, I know exactly how overwhelming it can be. Today, I want to share 3 strategies that help me to manage ROCD and actually enjoy my relationship. These tips help me to realize that doubt is a trickster, one that will fill your head with thoughts and anxieties, but one that you don't have to follow. So if your relationship is otherwise healthy and safe, let's talk about how you can actually challenge that third wheel of doubt and find a bit more peace. So a little backstory. Before I proposed to my soon-to-be wife, back when we didn't yet have a child together and another on the way, my relationship was a bit of a disaster, and I don't mean that in a mean way. But of course we were struggling because I was stuck in my head so much of the time. I had this permanent third wheel tagging along, and that was doubt. No matter what I did or how many late night analysing sessions I put myself through, I couldn't shake it. It was all I could think about all day, every day. I thought that somehow, if I just thought about it hard enough, I'd reach some kind of moment of clarity. But the truth is, the more that I thought about it, of course, the more confused I got. My brain wasn't solving any puzzle. It was just tying itself in knots. You know, relationship OCD has this way of sneaking in and turning the most ordinary moments into battlegrounds. I could be having a great day with my partner. I could be out with her, laughing, enjoying things, but then suddenly, bam, out of nowhere, a thought would hit me. What if this isn't actually the right relationship? And it's not just a thought that just comes and goes. With relationship OCD, the thoughts have a sticky quality, like a song that you can't get out of your head. Only instead of a catchy tune, it's anxiety, worry, and doubt playing on repeat. And the worst part, the doubt wasn't just this quiet voice in the background. It was loud, insistent, practically screaming at me to figure it all out right now. So I did what felt logical. I analysed, I thought about it from every angle, I tried to figure it out. If this was actually the right relationship, I was going to know for sure. But all of that analysis, all of that thinking, it just made things worse. And I'd go down these spirals of second guessing, mentally replaying every interaction, questioning every feeling. And as anyone with relationship OCD will know, it didn't bring me any closer to clarity. The more I tried to solve the problem of whether or not I was in the right relationship, the more confused I actually became. ROCD has a way of making you feel like you're on this endless hamster wheel, running in circles but never getting anywhere. And the shame, the guilt, those really difficult emotions, I'd look at my partner and feel so guilty for doubting, as if I was actually betraying the relationship just by having these kinds of thoughts. And yet, as tough as it was, what I eventually learned is that relationship OCD isn't a puzzle to be solved or a problem to be fixed. It's a pattern of thought, a loop that you can learn to recognize and ultimately step out of. And that's what I want to share today. 3 tips that helped me to stop seeing relationship OCD as something that I had to defeat and start approaching it with a sense of curiosity, acceptance, and to believe that I can actually do this. So the first thing that made a difference was to stay in the relationship just a little bit longer than I normally would. If you're anything like me in relationships in the past, every time you hit a rough patch, you might start thinking, maybe I should just end it. Maybe this isn't the right relationship. And that's where the endless cycle of ROCD can take over. But instead of giving in to that urge to run, I actually challenged myself to stay. So try this as an experiment. When you feel the need to figure it out or decide right now, pause instead. Remind yourself that clarity isn't a rush job. Sometimes just giving yourself that extra time helps you see things from a calmer perspective. Remember, this is only worth trying if the relationship is safe and healthy overall. Relationship OCD isn't about staying in a toxic situation, but rather learning to question the doubts that seem to come from nowhere. Okay, so here's a big one that made a huge difference for me. Recognizing and challenging patterns of reassurance-seeking behavior. So it's so natural to want to get reassurance right. It's a big part of OCD, to want someone to tell you that, yes, this is the right relationship, or you're definitely with the right person. But here's the thing, every time we seek reassurance, we're giving a little more power to the doubt. We're teaching our minds that the doubt is something that really needs answering, which only fuels the ROCD cycle and makes it worse over time. Try this. When you feel the need to seek reassurance, pause and label it for what it is, a reassurance-seeking urge. It might sound simple, but by acknowledging it, you're taking a step back and breaking the automatic habit of constantly looking for certainty. And finally, let's talk about the importance of presence. I know if you're feeling anxious, actually the last thing you want to do is to sit with it. But here's the thing, when you're with your partner, it's so important to try to be fully there, even if the anxiety is sitting there in the background. Don't push it away, just let it be there without actually doing anything with it. A good way to practice this is what I call the 10-second rule. When you're actually with your partner, especially if you're feeling that anxiety and urge to ruminate, take a moment to focus on something very simple. It could be the sound of their voice, or it could be the feeling of their hand in yours. Let yourself be there for 10 seconds without judgment. The goal isn't to make the anxiety to go away, but to practice being in the moment in that situation. Over time, you'll find that you can be present without needing to solve anything. And relationship OCD is an incredibly tough thing to deal with. It can be overwhelming at times. That constant shadow of doubt can be there. But remember, doubt doesn't define your relationship, and it doesn't define you. By staying a bit longer, looking within, and practicing presence, you can start to kick that third wheel to the curb. If you found this podcast helpful, it would be amazing if you could subscribe and like and all of that good stuff. It really does help the podcast a lot. If you have any questions at all, do please let me know, and I will see you next time.
This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are dealing with OCD, anxiety, or any mental health concerns, please consult a licensed mental health professional for support.